Hey, this is Dan Cordell for the Film Practice. In this video, I'm talking about how to best memorize text, and the first video is for the actors, and this one is for public speakers. A distinction between public speakers and actors is that, generally speaking, actors are dealing with text that isn't their own. That is to say, usually they haven't written it, and public speakers are usually the authors of their text. So here's where the difference lies. That for public speakers, there is a step before rehearsal, which is the writing of the text. Now, this holds true even if you're a public speaker who has a speechwriter create your speeches for you, because chances are, if you do that, they are preparing those based on your thoughts and ideas. So, when an actor sits down with a text, they want to be in tune with what they're feeling as they approach the text. And when a public speaker sits down to write a script, they want to be in tune with what they're feeling as they commence the writing process. If you take that step where you sit down in front of the computer or piece of paper and you think, okay, well, what am I feeling in this moment? And what am I trying to do here? And if you identify as clearly as possible what those feelings and thoughts are in you, it will make the writing flow out much more naturally and organically than if you aren't connected to those feelings. Here's what I see happen quite a bit. People approach their talks, whether they're in the writing process or whether they're in the performance or rehearsal process, with a disconnection with their own feelings. They're not entirely aware of any feeling other than wanting to succeed at the talk, wanting to get it right, and wanting the talk to be successful, which, when we come down to it, involves the audience enjoying the performance or liking who you are as a speaker or a person. So this feeling of wanting to be liked is fine, but if you're not in touch with that feeling, it can really work against you. Here's how. If you start writing the text with the idea of this has to be good, that would be related to the text being liked and the speech being liked. It's going to come out much less connected to organic, natural impulses and feelings than it would if you were operating from a much more in tune emotionally and intellectually place. So you'll wind up with a piece of writing that may hit all the points, that may even be quite persuasive, and yet it will not be connected to a place of emotion. It will be, entirely intellectual, and it might even seem a little bit forced. Let's say that that has happened, and suddenly you're dealing with a text which is kind of formal and a bit stiff. Then you go into rehearsal, and you find that it's difficult to memorize it because it isn't imbued with any kind of organic feeling. Then you achieve the memorization, and you realize that it is difficult to perform because you feel kind of stiff. And so you get the help of a speech coach, and that person sees that what you're doing is very stiff, and they decide to try to fix that problem by giving you blocking and by looking again at the text and to try to identify the operative words, to try to find out where to take the breaths so that they can breathe in some natural, real life, through these technical means into this text, which was conceived from an intellectual place. That may have been disconnected from feeling. Sometimes that can work because in the action of doing these physical things and intonations, you can spark real feelings to come forward. Another thing that sometimes happens is you prepare it technically, it's devoid of any real feeling, and yet the rush you might get from being in front of an audience will lift the piece back into an emotional place. It will give it life, and then it may succeed. But what usually happens is the opposite, that they've prepared it from an intellectual place, they've prepared it technically, and it comes across as being somewhat symbolic of the thoughts and feelings that you're trying to convey to the audience. And the audience will be sitting there watching you, knowing what they're supposed to be feeling, and trying to get there, perhaps, with you, but will not feel entirely connected on an emotional level to the things that you're saying. So, this is not, the kind of performance that we want to have, if you're giving a talk. You want to be fully engaged. You want the text to be very much in the moment. And, you want to be speaking from your heart. So the step that's missing for most public speakers is the very beginning. How do you approach the text? And the place to start from is, what am I feeling in the present moment? What do I want? After you've written your piece and you're happy with it, you then take the next important step that most speakers miss, which is to sit calmly and pretend that you have a very good friend sitting next to you, or perhaps there's somebody real, a trusted friend sitting next to you, and you take your text and you speak it to them as if you're in a conversation. Here's why you do that. There's often a difference between the way we write and the way we talk, and you need to identify what those differences are before you start memorizing the text. So you might be having this conversation with your friend, and you might come across a phrase, and that phrase feels a little stiff to you. And then you realize, hey, I don't talk like that. How would I say that? And then you think, oh, okay, yeah, this is how I say that in real life. And then you take your pencil or your computer, and you make a change, and you try to put it in the words that you would use if you were really talking to your friend. And you go through your entire script like that until you get it to the point where it feels entirely conversational, as if it isn't, right, a set of symbols relating to intellectual ideas that are disconnected from an emotional core, but as if these thoughts and ideas and feelings are happening in the present moment as part of a conversation that is impactful to your friend. Then, if you're able to do that, you begin the process of memorization, and I guarantee you, memorizing it will be so much easier than if you started from a place of disconnection with the text and with your thoughts and feelings in regard to the project of this speech. Once it's memorized, what you'll find when you're in performance is that you'll be speaking it as if it's happening for the first time. And if by chance you go off script, you will easily be able to find your way back to the things you were talking about, because those things are coming from your heart as well as from your head. It's an amazing process to go through, and it completely changes the feelings involved in preparing a talk. I hope this has been of help to you. If it has, please subscribe to my channel so that you can see more of these videos. Until I see you again, I hope you have a great day.